What's good YouTube, and welcome to the house. So, people are already talking about, we're one event into the new format, and people are already talking about what was missed on the ban list, what needs to be addressed on the next ban list. And by the way, the next No Sooner Than expires on April 2nd, so we legitimately could get our F and L list on April Fools. I look forward to Yuki tubing on April 1st to see what's gonna be going on that day. But let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here on the screen. First off, people are really complaining about Rusty Bardish. Rusty Bardish has this restriction on him that doesn't allow you to link up with him further. He can't be used as link material, which is pretty dang nice, but he is so busted in the advantage he ends up generating, and it's caused a huge problem twofold. It's kind of this pointing the fingers of who's the problem, where's the problem. Yeah, you've heard this kind of conversation before. Rusty Bardish, the rank up magic launch, and Azathoth. So we're ranking up into Azathoth on our opponent's turn, such as an Deceptions deck has the ability to, in order to shut the opponent off from using monster effects, period. People are saying Azathoth is the problem. People are saying Rusty Bardish is the problem. I point the finger specifically at the Phantom Knight's rank up magic launch. Very similar to a card in the past. Ooh, Argent Force. Just think about that. Think about that. We took care of S0 when we banned this card. S0 is still untouched. How many top cuts has it been in? It says it in the name! 0! So I point my finger at this because it still ends up being searchable in the Dark Warrior engine. Should you leave it alone? Yeah, you add a Phantom Knight spell or trap. So I think if you leave it alone, decks are still going to be trying to rank up into things. And people pointing fingers at Azathoth being the problem. Let's look a little into the future with Orcust potentially, and Cali King. So with Orcust Danger, you're able to make rank 7s. Ah, the good old rank 7s. How are we making them an Orcust? Ah, of course, the Danger engine that Ed was already using. We look at Dangers, and you can end up making Aurea, you can detach with Aurea, and in Orcust, you can end up sending our new Time Thief Bezel ship, end up discarding a material, making sure Aurea has 0 materials, and go on up into Cali King during their turn, giving Triff the ability to not need 5 negates, but just the 1 to stop them from playing. Also, he ends up wiping back row because it is considered an XE summon, taking care of decks like Altergeist, Sky Strikers, etc. So Cali King, just an insane force here when you have that potential, and that leads me to believing this is the problem. It's searchable with the Phantom Knights, not just Bardish. Bardish can be considered a problem, but I don't think it's the problem here when you consider this. Azathoth, a problem. It was used as a combo extender at first, or being able to shut off your opponent from hand traps, and we've seen hand traps become less and less a part of this meta. But again, a problem, it depends on the deck. Like if you summon an Azathoth against an Altergeist player, they can take their time, set a ton of back row. Cali King kind of stops this. Here, where's the rank up magic gone? Oh yeah, and of course, I think this would just become a problem too, perhaps in Raid Raptors or something of the likes in the future. So, I definitely think when we're talking about problems, pointing fingers, yes, you have so much with Rusty Bardish. You're able to go out and get so many things, so much advantage, able to abuse him so badly, despite not being able to rank up with him. He's a body on board. You can end up reviving him later. He gets you negates, bodies, but like, they're going to have Cherubini coming out, and they're going to want to support it. We've already seen BA/BAPK hit so many times. Malicious, Snow, Greffer, so many indirect kind of things. And Greffer hitting the Orcust engine as well. Will they really get rid of the Dark Warrior engine completely? It's been a problem as well. So I can understand the frustration. I can understand seeing it want to go. Now let's go ahead and move kind of into the next arena. Good old Dangers. Ah, yes, Dangers. I personally think I have a problem when it comes to them in certain aspects because you have Revival, you have Self-Revival. Every single one of them can turn any card in your hand into an upstart goblin. And they're not only potential starters, as in I have a bad hand, at least I can do something. They are definitive extenders, putting a body on board for you to link summon, and they're hand fixers. They sound a lot like another broken card in Saryuja that is an extender, allowing you to continue to summon to the field, as well as a hand fixer. And I think Saryuja gets very, very broken in guard dragons, especially moving forward when you have a compulse you can leave on board in dragon form and Hermetic Seal coming out in April. So two things I'd like to discuss here are putting Saryuja down to 1 or 0. I personally would like to see 0. I think this is a Pokemon card. I think it's insane that it's unhit, but at the same time, I do also want to leave 1 for guard dragons. It's too early to annihilate them. They haven't had their proper time. Let them at least have some transitional plays, but limit them in how they'll transition and continue on. But my point being is Saryuja is so busted and insane, the dangers are very similar. They are hand fixers and extenders on another level. And they help you go into Saryuja to further hand fix and extend. Do you see the loop here? Again, we have two problems coming at us from the same kind of realm in very similar fashion. Yet, when discarded also, a lot of them have the ability to self-replace or do something for you. And that, to me, is pretty insane. I like the talk when people go about dangers in card design. Some people defend it, and they say, oh, well, it's really cool, it's something we didn't have. But to me, it threatens future card design. Because it's not just an upstart, you're discarding. How many cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Get effects in the graveyard? How many of them are extenders further in the graveyard? By revealing one danger and potentially discarding something that you would want to discard, you can not only get the body on board in the replacement, but also plus. It's pretty crazy. So your extender becomes a double extender. It's just crazy to me. Oh, by the way, I forget if I actually addressed this with the rank up magic here, but there's other decks that can abuse the rank up magic besides Orcus, as I was talking about, and the chance of hitting rank 7s. Pendulum Magicians. I think I touched on Sutff, but there's so many different ways to go 7 in Pendulum Magicians. Shout out to good old Sutff Gaming here. I definitely think that, you know, like I said, we wrap back into, oh, this isn't the problem. We can see future routes where it gets abused. And dangers provide themselves into so many different decks. Burning Abyss, Orcust, Graveyard Ability, Thunder Dragons pitching to the graveyard so you can use Cola Serpent and Weaver Buster, which honestly feel like the modern day Reborn Tengu when it comes to Link summoning. You're summoning it, getting the replacement, summoning again on your own. So it really feels like you have this ability to abuse so many cards that are only because the dangers are allowing you to. Everything's becoming degenerate because of them and their ability to extend, mix in with other dark decks for the most part, and really find their way. I don't know how I would approach them on an FNL list. Do you put some of them at 1? Such as the usual suspects? Or how do you approach it? Because there's so freaking many of them. And just to let us think about this, we haven't seen the OCG exclusive card yet, and we still have another TCG spell at least coming. So the OCG cards are usually busted. What are they going to give us for dangers out of the OCG in the future? This deck's got more cards coming. But yeah, do think towards the future when you think about talking about forbidden and limited hits. Think more about the direct roots of the problem, not what's causing the pain. Because, like, yeah, Azathoth allows you to continue, but at the same time, what's enabling Azathoth to be degenerate? What's enabling Azathoth to come out on the opponent's turn? What will in the future allow Cali King? We talk about pointing the finger. A lot of people say Firewall wasn't the problem and have arguments for it coming back. I think it will come back at one point. I think it will be eroded with its alternative art, and I think it will be a hard once per turn on both effects. And I really hope so, because zombies can revive it if you just put a once per turn clause on it. So I would see zombies starting to recycle and reuse and abuse this. But again, these are all just theories, and the main point is people are arguing now that Firewall was not the problem. Correct, Firewall was a problem, and whenever you take problems away, new problems will arise in a format. New things will become more used. Saryuja Turbo, in different forms, has won multiple events, top multiple events. You're just abusing Saryuja and you in so many decks. Like, it's crazy. So, looking at Saryuja, it's a problem, and it's a bigger problem now than it was before. And you learn to point the fingers, and then people will go, well, it wasn't the problem. How many decks have topped with Cannon Soldier since? Oh, Cyberstein FTK was gonna be a huge problem, right? Except it didn't appear at all within the metagame. I wonder why that is, even with Cannon Soldier to abuse. You see, the consistency drains down, the enabler is taken care of, and we move to the next problem like Gumbler. Then we move to the next problem. And yeah, you can scream Konami's missed some problems, they've made some mistakes, that there's other problems that need to be taken care of. This early into the format, we've had one freaking event. But for me, I want to take a calmer look despite how I was just acting. Sit back, really discuss it, and figure it out. Thank you all so much for joining this discussion. This was live on YouTube and Twitch. Be sure to join the live streams, set those notifications on, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining.